with the infrastructure at some of MUN's campuses. That has been a big issue that we've raised in the past. Student unions and faculty unions brought that up with the Fund MUN campaign last year, calling on the government to increase funding to the university, which they did slightly, but it's not enough, and we really hope to see the provincial government increase funding even more.
The new PC government had kind of tied this to the university getting its finances in order, and we did kind of, now they said there was no connection, but we did see some moves from the university this week in terms of cutting 4 out of 7 VP positions. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there are a lot of things that are left unanswered with that. Honestly, we represent students at the Marine Institute, we represent students at Grenfell and at the Labrador campus, and so we want to make sure that there still are decision-making processes that include those campuses, although we are unequivocally very happy about the commitment to address administrative load. It's been an issue for a really long time, but we would like to see how it's implemented and how it impacts decision-making at the university.
Right, because for example, Grenfell will no longer have its own vice president now, is my understanding. That was something that had been brought in 15 years ago to give them more autonomy. So what concerns do you have there?
Yeah, we're just worried with Grenfell and the Marine Institute, as they used to each have a VP. I think we're worried about the fact that they might become overlooked and that they might not be treated with the same importance as they were with the 7 vice president structure. However, again, it's still an improvement. We just want to make sure that there still are considerations being made for these other campuses.
Right. And I guess it's always a bit of a tricky issue when the government sort of talks about freezing tuition, because the university is supposed to be autonomous. Ultimately, this has to go to the Board of Regents. I guess what are your thoughts on, I guess, maintaining the independence of the university from government itself?
I mean, I think that throughout the 22-year tuition freeze, the government decided that. The government decided it in 1999. They gave funding for tuition freeze, and they repeatedly made election promises. All parties made election promises throughout those 22 years. They were the ones who created the tuition freeze, and they made it happen. So absolutely, it's an autonomous university, but the funding does come from the province, and the province is definitely accountable to make sure that students can access education in this province. Because if we don't have a public university in this province, then we're in real trouble in terms of our future as a province.
In terms of a blanket freeze on tuition, I mean, what's your response to the argument? Some would argue that these, rather than creating a blanket freeze for all students, even for those who can't afford to pay, targeting assistance for students who need it most instead.
I think that creates more loopholes, more hurdles to jump through for students. I think it's been shown not to work in the past. Obviously, we're pro grants, we're not pro student loans, but we are pro increasing the number of grants, but we would like to see just a general decrease in tuition, because that is the easiest way to make sure that education is accessible for everyone. And it doesn't matter what your background is, it's supposed to be accessible for everyone. We wouldn't have K-12 be mandated based on your income either. It's important that education